cdcr@cdscr.ca.gov. La tarjeta está disponible en nuestro sitio web al cdcr.ca.gov/BPH. Llenar la tarjeta es voluntario, quien quiera puede asistir.
Good morning. I just wanted to do a quick check. Moderator, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me, Ms. Schaefer?
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Schaefer, Executive Officer with the Board of Parole Hearings. I want to welcome you and thank you for being with us today. There we go. Okay, we are hosting this meeting in person and by video and telephone using Microsoft Teams. We have a majority of commissioners in person for this meeting as required. We have divided the commissioners into panels for this month's meeting, similar to how appellate courts handle en banc cases. Panel members, board members, will be present to hear comments for the cases they will be voting on. For those of you participating by video, if you experience connectivity issues during the meeting, we have found that turning off your camera may help you see and hear those who are speaking and help us to better hear when you are speaking. If you wish to speak today, we ask that you please fill out a speaker card on the board's website under the tab called Board Meetings and the link called Meeting Agendas. We will also provide an opportunity for those who have not submitted a speaker card to make comments throughout the meeting. You can find additional documents with helpful instructions and tips for participating in today's meeting on the board's website. Just go to the tab at the top called Board Meetings and select the link for meeting agendas. There is also a helpline available during the meeting if you are experiencing difficulties. Please call area code 916-445-4072. Again, that's 916-445-4072. The phone number is also on the first page of today's agenda and the agenda page of the board's website. If no one immediately answers your call, please leave a message. They will get back to you as quickly as possible. Most commissioners and board staff take notes during the meeting using their computers. So please do not be concerned if a commissioner is looking at their computer while someone is speaking. We ask that you please mute your computer microphone or telephone. If you do not mute yourself, a moderator will mute you to eliminate feedback and background noise. Your comments are very important to us and we want to hear from everyone. For this reason, comments may only be made after the moderator calls a speaker's name or identifies them by their login credentials. We will call cases in the order they are listed on the agenda. Once a speaker is called upon, they will be able to unmute their microphone to make a comment. Please be respectful and refrain from engaging in disruptive behavior or you will be removed from the meeting. Please note that some speakers may include explicit crime details in their statements during this meeting. This could trigger strong reactions or be difficult to hear for some people and would not be appropriate for children to hear. Please know that written statements may be submitted to the email address on the board's agenda, and written statements will be considered the same as oral comments. All comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker. We ask that you please be respectful of the time limits. Also, if you timely submitted a written statement to the board, the commissioners will consider it. For this reason, you are encouraged to reference your written statement and use your time today to provide additional information as needed. Lastly, once the board has heard comments on each case on the agenda, the board will go into closed session to deliberate and vote on each case. Board staff will then post the decisions for today's cases within 24 hours in the lobby on the ground floor of the board's main office at 1515 K Street in Sacramento, and the results will be posted on the board's website. We try very hard to post those decisions as soon as possible. Usually they are posted within a couple of hours after the completion of deliberations in closed session. So you can expect them to be posted this evening. Thank you so much. I will now turn the meeting over to Commissioner Kozel.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. Good morning. Today's date is October 15th, 2024, and the Board of Parole Hearings Executive Board meeting is now in session. I will now call roll for the commissioners participating in public comment, deliberations, and voting on the cases for today's agenda. The chairperson is present. Commissioner Barton?
Present.
Commissioner Chappelle?
Present.
Commissioner Dobbs?
Present.
Commissioner Infante?
Present.
Commissioner Long?
Present.
Commissioner Minor?
Present.
Commissioner Muniz?
Present.
Commissioner Nuaje?
Present.
Commissioner Purcell?
Present.
Commissioner Tyra?
Present.
And Commissioner Thornton.
Present.
Please note for the minutes that a majority of the commissioners currently appointed are present in person at 1515 K Street in Sacramento. We are now going to hear comments regarding cases on today's agenda. For each case, first we will take comments from those in support of the incarcerated person, starting with speaker cards, and then moving on to those who did not submit a speaker card. Then we will take comments from those in opposition to the incarcerated person, starting with speaker cards, and then calling on those who did not submit a speaker card. Again, comments are limited to 2 minutes. There is no rebuttal. And if you are speaking, please eliminate any background noise. The moderator will call your name or identify you by your phone number when it is your turn. You will have 2 minutes when you begin to speak. The first case is Andrew Luster, T97187, item 29. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
Thank you, Chairperson. We do have some speaker cards this morning for support. The first is for Robert E. Young. Robert, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone to unmute yourself. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Robert Young, and I am the attorney who has represented Mr. Luster before this august board since 2021. First, I would like to assure this executive body that I have personally, along with my staff, gone through the document dumped by the Ventura District Attorney's Office on August 16th and September 18th of this year, and assure this board that there is no new information as to the material, or as all the material is pre-trial documents generated in the years 2000 through 2002. Second, there is no evidence of new victims. And third, there were no other videotapes of unknown victims being abused while unconscious that were not charged at trial. Personally, I find the Ventura District Attorney's document dump to be unworthy of a sworn officer of the court, as I am troubled by the lack of relevancy to the purported reason for this hearing, which is Mr. Luster's criminal history and Mr. Luster's arrest reports. Mr. Luster has no criminal history other than a present commitment. He also has no arrest history, again, other than the present arrest related to his commitment. Pursuant to Title 15, Section 2042, the record is complete, accurate, consistent, and uniform, resulting in a well-founded decision by the August 9th panel and in this furtherance of justice and in public safety. I have come to personally know Mr. Luster. I have witnessed his commitment to change. I have orchestrated with Dr. Mann and Dr. Soji his intense psychological therapy sessions far in excess of any other state prisoner that I am aware of, including 100 to 200 hours of therapy. He is now 60 years old, severely infirm, and in need of well overdue hip replacement surgery as diagnosed by the department's own doctors.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Okay, he is among the lowest risk group for reoffending the state due to his age, due to the board's forensic assessment division report, and empirical evidence that demonstrates elderly sexual offenders have an extremely low rate of recidivism. And I'd like I would urge this board to uphold the panel's well-founded decision.
Thank you. The next speaker card is
Thank
for
you.
Randy Cohn. Randy Cohn, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 to unmute yourself. I see you. Go ahead.
Okay. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've never done this before, so I'm on a whole different ground here. Yeah, hi, I'm Randy Cohn. I met Andrew in 1983. We've been friends ever since. Since the beginning of this, I've seen Andrew go from being in total denial to understanding his wrongdoings to now accepting responsibility for his actions. I believe there's zero chance of him reoffending, especially as people like me on his side who are there for him 24/7. He doesn't want to ever jeopardize his freedom again. Just to make sure I'm there for him, and I know he's got a lot of support. He wants to be able to see his mother before she dies. I'm going to read a quote I heard the other day. I saw it on TV actually, and it said, I wonder if he really didn't want to hurt people, or if he just wanted to make himself happy. This is a recent documented statement from Tanya Baldwin. And with this statement, it basically reaffirms to me that he deserves another chance in society to prove that he can be an upstanding citizen. I'm really hoping that you grant him parole today. I'm not going to be really long-winded about it. Just I've just known him for a long time, and I support him 100%. And that's about all I really have to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next speaker card we have is for Sheila Kern. Sheila, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Parole Committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of my dear friend Andrew Lester. I'd like to shed some light on the character and personal growth he has undergone during his time in jail. I sincerely hope that my perspective and experiences with him will provide you with a clearer understanding of his character and readiness for reintegration. I've known Andrew for many, many years, since 1981, and I can attest to his integrity and potential. Over the years, he's consistently demonstrated remarkable resilience, determination, and a strong commitment to personal growth. He has met for years with the clin psych Dr. Mann, who determined him suitable. He has met with head psych Dr. Shoshi and determined that he was suitable. He has completed 4 risk evaluations that show him as suitable. 2 committee members have reviewed materials on his case and found him suitable and have granted him parole. Andrew has actively sought to make positive contributions to his environment and to improve and better himself. He's participated in ongoing positive programming groups since 2007. Some of these are NA, AA, and victims groups, actively pursuing any additional questions he had after the group sessions with Dr. Mann. Acknowledges his past mistakes and working diligently to ensure he will not repeat them, demonstrating a genuine commitment to self-improvement. His behavior in prison has been exemplary. Moreover, Andrew has a concrete plan for his reintegration into society and these firm commitments. He will continue to meet with his mentors as he has the past 15 years and build positive relationships with people who share his values. He will remain in a therapy program with a psychologist and hypnotherapy sessions after release. He will make great strides in his personal commitment to live
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Crime-free life that nourishes and reflects his family values. I genuinely believe that Andrew has learned from his past and is ready to contribute himself positively to society. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. The next speaker card we have is for Dr. Sukhit Mann. Dr. Mann, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak. Dr. Mann, if you're with us, we cannot hear you. You can unmute yourself by pressing, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak. I have known Mr. Lester and worked with him since June 2022. We have met regularly, either bi-weekly, at least bi-weekly since then. I have conducted a series of risk assessments, one of the most important being the static 99R. And as we know, Mr. Lester is above 60 years old, which places him at the below average risk. I have also given him a dynamic risk assessment in which he had scored a 2 at the beginning, and he is now at a 0, so that speaks to the work he has done. We have worked on anger management, substance abuse, domestic violence / intimate partner violence, and sex offender relapse prevention therapy as recommended by the parole board during his first hearing. Additionally, the recommendations that Dr. Kalish had included in her reports, which included developing stable and pro-social relationship with others, maintaining sobriety, continuing participation in sex offender treatment, proceeding with caution when entering into romantic relationships, and avoiding general antisocial behavior. I believe those recommendations are better suited for Mr. Lester to work on and continue working on in the community rather than in a locked setting as he is in now. Furthermore, Mr. Lester has brought and sent transcripts from the parole board hearing. We've worked on recommendations such as criminal thinking and his insight into his crimes and his ability to internalize those crimes. And I can say with each session, for each session, he is motivated. He brings those topics up.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Okay. And never once have I had to push him to work on things. I have never seen him so motivated to do well and continue to do well. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker card I have is for David Wayne Summers. David, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak. David, if you're with us, we cannot hear you. You can press star 6.
Okay. Is it working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is David Wayne Summers, and I'm from Stockton, but I now live in Henderson, Nevada. I just want to give you a quick background on myself. I work for the United States Postal Service, and I was once a resident and counselor at the Delancey Street Foundation in San Francisco for 5 years. I've known Andrew for almost 20 years, and we've been in constant contact. From my interactions with Andrew, I have confidence in his ability to live a productive, crime-free life and not victimize anyone or anything in the future. Andrew has also shown me and expressed remorse for his actions in the past. And he's done a lot of work on himself to change and become a better person and make better choices in life, including, which you've heard already, being in counseling, going to AA, NA, and sessions with his therapist. And as I understand, he's also been a model inmate. Andrew knows if he's ever granted parole, I'm always available for his support. And in closing, I'd like to say that, in my opinion, Andrew Lester will not reoffend again. And I feel, depending on the circumstances, that everyone deserves a second chance in life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like to speak in support of Andrew Lester and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. We have a hand raised. Sheila Kern, go ahead. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hi, I've already spoken, but I just want to finish what I wrote. Is that okay, or?
I believe we only have the 2 minutes per person, correct, Ms. Schaefer?
That is correct. I'm so sorry. You're more than welcome to submit the written statement to the board, but every speaker only has 2 minutes.
Okay.
I apologize for the inconvenience. Thank you so much.
I'll go ahead and send it in then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you are on the phone and you would like to speak in support of Andrew Lester, please unmute yourself by pressing star 6 and identify yourself. Hello? Okay. Is there anyone who has not spoken who would like to speak in support of Andrew Luster? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers in support of, oh, we do have a hand raised, my apologies. Gil Gutierrez, go ahead and unmute yourself. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hi, good morning. My name's Gil Gutierrez. I'm actually the paralegal that's worked with Mr. Young. I was instructed here, you know, just to watch the proceedings, but in seeing and the support that he's been getting, I mean, if I could have the opportunity to talk, then I'm gonna go ahead and take the opportunity. I've known Andrew, I guess, for the past 5 years, ever since he retained Mr. Young, and I guess what I want to say is that I've been the one that's been helping him set up most and actually all of his programs for him. What I could say is that he's been very diligent in the whole process. I mean, as far as everything that the courts ask of him, everything that is required of him actually for parole. I know and I feel his sincerity because I speak with him maybe every other day. I know that his biggest desire more than anything is to be able to be with his mother. And in my personal feeling, when you go out of your way, I mean, when you do the things that you're supposed to do, such as he's done, for the love of his family, for the love of his mother, I really don't see why he wouldn't be allowed, you know, that second opportunity. Again, I didn't prepare anything. I just felt the need to go ahead and speak on his behalf.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Yes, like I said, I just wanted to, you know, put my 2 cents in, and again, he knows that he has my support and everything I could do for him, you know, if and when he's released. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who would like to speak in support of Andrew Luster? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers in support of Andrew Luster.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Andrew Luster.
Thank you, Chairperson. We do have some speaker cards. The first is for Tanya Balden. Tanya, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Tanya Balden. In 1996, when I was 23 years old, I was drugged and rendered unconscious by Andrew Luster and then raped and sodomized while he captured it all on videotape. I did not find out this happened to me until 4 years later in the year 2000 when the videotape was discovered along with many other videotapes after his arrest. In 2003, Andrew Luster was charged with 86 counts of poisoning, rape, and sodomy and sentenced to 124 years in prison. During the criminal trial, after posting $1 million bail, he fled the country to Mexico. He became one of America's most wanted. He was eventually apprehended by Dog the Bounty Hunter. After spending 10 years in prison, Andrew Luster managed to get a resentencing hearing, and in 2013, his sentence was reduced to 50 years. Then in 2016, California passed Prop 57, which omitted the drugging and rape of an unconscious person as a violent offense. Under Prop 57, nonviolent offenders have the opportunity for early release. So on August 8th this year, a parole board granted his early parole. He's only been in prison for 21 years. It came as an absolute shock that his parole was granted. Just 18 months prior to this parole hearing, he had a previous parole hearing in December 2022, where the parole board denied his parole, stating that he continues to be a danger to the public. How can it be that he was a danger to the public in December 2022, but then granted release in August 2024? During the parole hearing in August, which I attended and gave a statement along with other victims, Andrew Lester was caught lying several times to the parole board. When the board asked if he was lying, his response was that indeed he had lied. I thought for sure that the board would see that he is not taking responsibility for the crimes he committed, but instead the board said that even though there have been
your time has elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Okay. They were not inconsistencies, they were lies. I did submit a statement to the board giving the details of these lies. I don't believe he feels he committed any crimes. If he is let out, I believe that he will continue to rape women. I don't think the board could see who they were dealing with. And I hope you will keep Andrew Lester in to serve the rest of his sentence as he should. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker card we have is for Carrie Doe. Carrie, if you're with us, please unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak. Carrie, if you're with us, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking the Ventura County DA's office for continuing to push this forward and for the other victims in the case. I'm one of the 3 victims involved in the case against Andrew Lester that resulted in his conviction and imprisonment. I was the person who turned him in to the authorities. I was a 21-year-old college student. Andrew Lester drugged me in a bar, kidnapped and raped me multiple times, and my life has never been the same since. I really am in opposition of this early parole. Tanya has already touched on a lot of the things that have transpired, but I think specific to my case, Mr. Lester has refused at every point in every parole hearing to even discuss the egregious actions that he has taken against me specifically. He doesn't acknowledge his actions. He doesn't take accountability. And so therefore, I do not believe that he has been rehabilitated in any way and continues to pose a threat to society. My specific piece in the case is different than the other 2 victims that you may hear from. He was predatory. I was in a bar with friends. I was drugged in the bar and taken from the bar. I was not someone he knew that he had a relationship with. And I believe that he will continue this behavior. He was found in a bar when he fled the country during the case in Mexico, doing the same things he had been doing while he was here in the United States. I really plea with the board to hear the opposition from the victims. We are the ones who have had to live this life after such egregious actions were taken against us. It's changed my entire life. It continues to be something that I think of daily, nightly, and I don't believe that Mr. Lester has served his time and paid for the crimes that he has committed.
Your time has elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Thank you. That is all I have to say.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Andrew Lester and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in, I say we have a hand raised, Tony Wold. Please go ahead. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Thank you. I'm a deputy district attorney in Ventura County. I prosecuted Mr. Lester. In granting parole, the prior panel allowed the inmate to accept responsibility for a fabricated version of his conviction offenses. Andrew Lester is one of the most dangerous rapists I've ever personally prosecuted. Why? Because he drugged his victims into unconsciousness with a dangerous drug. He lowered their respiration to dangerous levels. He literally risked their lives so he could rape them and obtain sexual gratification. This is what he was convicted of course, but during his August parole hearing, he denied intending to render his victims unconscious. 3 separate women drugged into unconsciousness and raped, 2 of which are recorded. To allow him to deny the very means of how he committed his crimes and grant him parole is akin to a rapist who used a gun, claiming in a later parole hearing the gun was just incidental, it had nothing to do with the rape, and be granted parole. During his parole hearing, the inmate lied about nearly every facet of his crime, yet Commissioner Clara chalked that up to factual inconsistencies. Why would this board allow an inmate to completely rewrite their conviction offenses and then reward him with a grant of parole? Would you allow a serial killer to later rewrite his crimes as acts of self-defense or manslaughter completed in the heat of the moment? Lies equate to a threat to public safety, and that's exactly what occurred here. The panel allowed the inmate to falsely claim he had sex with his victims after they passed out from a marathon of drugs and sex. The panel allowed the inmate to falsely claim unconscious women were not his sexual trigger, despite the inmate literally narrating that was his exact fantasy on one of his rape tapes. The panel allowed the inmate to falsely claim his rapes were a form of domestic violence, despite the fact that 2 of his 3 victims were perfect strangers when he drugged and raped them, and the third was 17 years than him and had no prior dating relationship with him. The inmate lied about nearly every facet of his crimes, yet the panel believed him and granted parole.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. That decision was based on erroneous facts and must be reversed. We submitted a letter in opposition. Please carefully read it so at the very least, your final decision is based on the official record and not the inmate's lies and revisionist history. Thank you.
Thank you. If you're on the phone and you want to speak in opposition of Andrew Lester, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Andrew Lester? Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak about Andrew Lester? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Andrew Lester.
Thank you. The next case is Dar Petris, WE 4648, item 30. Moderator, please call for speakers in support.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards for support. If you would like to speak in support of Dar Petris and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of Dar Petris and are please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who would like to speak in support of Dar Petris? Chairperson, there appear to be no speakers in support of Dar Petris.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Dar Petris.
Thank you. I believe we have an in-person speaker card for Connie Lasky, DDA of San Bernardino County.
Good morning. Inmate Petris stomped her 3-year-old nephew to death because he ate a slice of pizza. And then she forced that baby's 9-year-old sister to claim that she killed her own brother. Even after that little girl, Evelyn, recanted her false admission, the inmate continued to live her life, letting the entire family believe that Evelyn had murdered her little brother. For 16 years, the inmate lived that lie until another of Tycoon's sisters, now an adult, had the courage to come forward and tell the truth. As recently as 2019, the inmate filed a petition for resentencing, claiming her innocence in the brutal murder of a child who made the unforgettable mistake of eating when he was hungry. The inmate is a master manipulator. She told the board exactly what she thought they wanted to hear, just like she did with Evelyn, just like she did with the police investigation during the trial, just like she did in her petition for resentencing, and just like she did with the clinicians and the past board. The inmate told the board that she killed Tycoon because she was angry that her husband was cheating on her, but she told the clinician that her husband was a good man who treated her like a princess. The father of the victim, the inmate's own brother, said that the inmate was, quote, has always had an evil inclination ever since she was a young girl, and now she grew up to act out her evil. She is very good in deceiving, end quote. The governor reiterated the clinician's concerns that the inmate did not have full awareness into her residual violent attitudes and internalized beliefs about violence towards children, and that the gaps in her insight have adversely impacted her plans to avoid future violence. Now we have learned that the inmate is engaged in restitution avoidance and possibly violent threats. Once again, the inmate is showing that she will do whatever she wants to do, regardless of the impact to those around her. The inmate says and does whatever she thinks will benefit her in the moment, regardless of the damage it may cause. The inmate is not sufficiently addressed what could have allowed her to abuse her first 2 foster children, viciously murder her nephew, and force her niece to take the blame while she lived her life. The inmate continues to engage in behavior that victimizes those around her, being concerned only for herself. The inmate's parole should be rescinded so that she can address these concerns and no longer pose an unreasonable danger to public safety.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Dar Petris and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. We have a hand raised for Graves. Graves, go ahead and unmute yourself. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hello, my name is Jaquetta Graves, and I'm one of the victims of the sister. I'm one of the sisters of the 3-year-old victim. DUREE is a master manipulator. The key witness to this entire crime is my 3-year-old brother, and he is gone. She was not a model prisoner. She committed fraud while she was in prison. They sentenced her 15 to life. She's only did 12 years, and she ran for 15 years before that. These medical issues that they speak of her having, that only means she has nothing to lose if they release her. I do not think it's in the best interest of us victims to release her. She already made threats toward us and continuing. I just don't feel she has served her time. I don't understand why it's a rush to release her when it was no rush in convicting her. It was plenty of opportunities to bring justice for my brother, but those opportunities were ignored until I turned 21 years old and reopened the case. My family continues to suffer and relive the crime, and it's not fair to us. It's no remorse for us or our feelings. The governor wrote a statement and he was against releasing her, as well as a psychologist who stated she did not have full awareness into her residual violent attitudes and internalized beliefs about violence toward children. I do not see any accountability for Ms. Petris. She only admitted the crime in 2021 during her initial board hearing, which means she only admitted it to say what the board wanted to hear for her to be released, to be reoffend. I do not feel she should be back in society because she does not truly acknowledge the severity or the aftermath of this hideous crime she committed. She acts as if we owe her something when she was the cause of all of this. She has not served her crime. She is trying to manipulate the system. My baby brother cannot speak. We are trying to speak for him. I ask the board to reconsider it. Please look over the statements, the autopsy, and everything that you have to reconsider.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
I would just ask the board to please look over everything and reconsider granting her this parole. We are still out here, and it's going to be very, very dangerous for her to be released, and us victims are still out here trying to live our lives. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in opposition of Dar Petris, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Dar Petris? Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak about Dar Petris? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Dar Petris.
The next case is Donald Cartright, D63973, item 31. Moderator, please call for speakers in support.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of Donald Cartright and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of Donald Cartright, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who would like to speak in support of Donald Cartright? Chairperson, there appear to be no... I'm sorry, go ahead. Phone number ending in 9731.
Hi, my name is Byrisha Byers, and I am Donald's daughter.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm Donald's daughter. I wanted to speak in support of my father. I don't know how this works. Do I speak now?
Yes, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, sorry. So I am his daughter. I'm 38 years old. I just bought a home in Stockton, California I work full time. I'm a supervisor at my job. I've been on my job for 7 years. And I want to support my dad when he comes home. I just had a son 6 months ago. I feel like if he comes home, I can help him. Like, as far as I have an extra room in my home, so if he needs somewhere to stay, he can stay and paroled to my house. I can get him an interview set up at my job. Like, I can really support my father, can help him get his license and get him familiar with how things are out here now, because he has been gone for a long time. I just really want my dad to come home. I've never seen him outside of prison a day in my life. And with me having a new baby, I think a fresh start for him to come in our family and be a part of his grandson's life, and for me to have my father would be great. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who would like to speak in support of Donald Cartright? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers in support of Donald Cartright.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Donald Cartright.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Donald Cartright and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in opposition of Donald Cartright, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition of Donald Cartright? Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak about Donald Cartright? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Donald Cartright.
The next case is Jose Aguilar, AT 4201, item 32. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards for support. If you would like to speak in support of Jose Aguilar and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of Jose Aguilar, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who wants to speak in support of Jose Aguilar? Chairperson, there appear to be no speakers in support of Jose Aguilar.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Jose Aguilar.
Thank you. We do have a speaker card. Dana Greason, DDA of Riverside County. Dana, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Good morning. In 2007, the inmate molested his 12-year-old daughter twice. In the second assault, he raped her. He was ultimately caught because he was also molesting his 17-year-old granddaughter in 2012. She ultimately reported, and it came out that he had also molested her when she was 15 in 2010. The CRA evaluation opined the inmate had a lack of self-awareness regarding his sexual offenses. In his CRA interview 4 months before he was paroled this year, the inmate gave a minimized version of the rape of his daughter and denied ever molesting his granddaughter. This is consistent with the denials he made to the police. When arrested and even after his conviction, he told probation the victims were lying. In his parole hearing that led to his release, he simply explained to the board he was in denial about what he had done. Now he accepts the crimes he did, and apparently that was sufficient. The CRA warned directly that the inmate needs to understand his sexual deviancy, specifically his paraphilic disorder. When the inmate was asked in his hearing if he knew what paraphilic disorder was, he had no idea, never looked it up, and was completely unaware. The inmate blames his molest on alcohol and has no understanding of the causative factors that led him to molest and rape these children. His plan to cope is to basically say to himself not to do it and not to drink and go to AA. Based on his alcohol criminal history where he had to go to AA, it did not stop him, and he ended up raping and molesting these girls. The inmate has an immigration hold and is likely to be paroled to Guatemala. His plans for this are vague at best, especially when it comes to any sexual disorder treatment and the safety of the children in Guatemala. He admits he is unaware of sexual treatment in Guatemala and he's going to stay with his sister. No questions were asked as to what sexual treatment would occur if children visit this home, if it's next to a school. The inmate in his CRA even hoped he would be paroled to Guatemala because he did not want to be subjected to 290 registration due to the perception of sex offenders. His denials does not bring comfort that the others will know his history and know he should not be near children. Due to the inmate's lack of insight and understanding of the causative factors of his crime, or even
Your 2
knowing his
minutes
own
have
diagnosis,
elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
and knowing his own diagnosis along with his undeveloped parole plans show that this parole grant was improvident. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Jose Aguilar and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in opposition of Jose Aguilar, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Jose Aguilar? Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak about Jose Aguilar? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Jose Aguilar.
The next case is Dennis Bias, P14304, item 33. Moderator, please call for speakers in support.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of Dennis Bias and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of Dennis Bias, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who would like to speak in support of Dennis Bias? Chairperson, there appear to be no speakers in support of Dennis Bias.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Dennis Bias.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Dennis Bias and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you're on the phone and you wish to speak in opposition of Dennis Bias, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of Dennis Bias? Is there anyone who would like to speak about Dennis Bias? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Dennis Bias.
The next case is Yuri Dragos, V31341, item 34. Moderator, can you please call speakers in support?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. We do have a couple of speaker cards. The first is for Brittany Manzo. Brittany, if you're with us, please go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hello, my name is Brittany Manzo. I'm a social worker with the Santa Clara County Office of the Public Defender. I have met with Yuri Dragos in person, and I've worked with him as he worked through and processed his own insight, grief, and remorse regarding this offense. He was young at the time, and although I could, sit here and wax poetic about how well he's done in his time incarcerated, I think his record largely speaks for himself on that issue. But what I would really like to kind of hit home about is that for anyone who has had the opportunity to really speak with or meet with Yuri, his remorse about this and his insight regarding what has happened here is palpable, and it really fills the room. He is extremely well aware of the harm that was caused by his actions to the two victims in this case. He has done so much reflective work, and he truly feels the weight of his action, which he is never, or not never, but which he does not deny or attempt to excuse in any way. He accepts full responsibility and is really well aware of what has happened here. And he is extremely well aware of who he was as a person and what led him to these actions and he has worked so hard on himself. I truly do not believe that he represents any further risk. I know that he will continue to work on addressing any of his own feelings, his own remorse, his own grief, and anything that contributed to what happened here. He also has the full support of myself. I will
Your 2
continue to
minutes
work
have
with him.
elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Thank you. I will be continuing to work with him as well as other workers from my office on the event that he is released, and I greatly thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next speaker card we have is for Anjali Bhargava. Anjali, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hi, good morning. My name is Anjali Bhargava, and I am an attorney with the Public Defender's Office, and I work with Ms. Monzo. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about Mr. Dragos today. I did want to reiterate what Ms. Monzo said about Mr. Dragos's sincere remorse and accountability in this case. He has been a client of our office from the beginning, and I think one thing that stands out about Mr. Dragos is even as a young child accused of this crime, he took full responsibility, and he always has. He has never minimized. He has never shied away from accountability in this case through his initial plea, an appeal, a resentencing. He has always come in with full remorse and accountability, and he has taken the opportunities he's had at CDCR to work on himself and to find programming even when it was difficult to find. He is extremely motivated never to reoffend. And he and I have been in contact for at least almost 4.5 years now. And so I have spoken to him prior to his last 3 hearings. At every hearing, he has shown an increase in accountability and remorse and more thoughtfulness towards his reentry planning. I know that there is a possibility he would parole here in California, and there's also a possibility that he would have to live internationally, and he has planned for both of those possibilities. He has also made plans to stay in touch not only with our office, but with treatment providers here in California, even if he is not able to stay here, so that he will have a thoughtful reentry plan and be able to execute the relapse prevention plans that he has put time into. So with all of that said, I truly do not believe he is a risk today to public safety, and I ask you to uphold his grant. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in support of Yuri Dragos and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of Yuri Dragos, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wishes to speak in support of Yuri Dragos? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers in support of Yuri Dragos.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Yuri Dragos.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Yuri Dragos and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in opposition of Yuri Dragos, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of Yuri Dragos? Is there anyone who has not spoken who would like to speak about Yuri Dragos? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Yuri Dragos.
Next case is Javier Flores, AK 5319, item 35. Moderator, please call for speakers in support.
Thank you, Chairperson. We do have some speaker cards. The first is for Karen Samonteni. If you're with us, Karen, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hello, my name is Karen Samadeni, and I'm the youngest sister of Javier Flores. I am here to give my support to my brother Javier, and I want to let you know that my brother has my full and unconditional support emotionally, spiritually, and financially. I'm totally aware of this crime for which Javier is in prison. And I know that the crime he committed in January 4 of 2009, he was 20 years old and he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. But I also know that all through these years, he has been in prison. He has made big change to his life. And I also noticed how much he has grown and he have accepted that he had many personal problems due to his character defects and how he continues to make great progress confronting his past decisions and bad actions. That is why he has attended self-help groups such as Desire to Change, The Road to Freedom, Altered Sexual Idolatry, Victim Impact, Parenting, Cognitive Behavior, Interventional Life Skills, Domestic Violence, Personal Insight Exploration, Criminal Thinking, Retrospective Justice, Stress Management, Timeless, NAAA, CGA, ACCI, Life Skill and Personal Responsibility, and many others. In case he is eligible to be deported to Mexico, our family has a house available for him, and we have our unconditional love and total support. I believe that my brother, Javier Flores, is now a mature, grown man who understands the ways of his actions. Please consider his effort and good behavior. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker card we have is for Alfredo Samadeni. Alfredo, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak. Alfredo, if you're with us, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, hi. Is good?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hello, good morning to all committee staff. My name is Alfredo Samadeni, and I'm here to give my full and complete financial support to my brother-in-law, Javier Flores, whom I know since 2004. I am totally aware of his crime for which Javier is in prison for. If my brother-in-law is eligible, I believe he will be deported upon his release. We have many families and friends who live in Mazatlan and Tijuana. My brother-in-law will have a great support system nearby to help him with his transition. We have relatives and families, friends who own business in Mazatlan, and they have offered him a job. Also, my brother-in-law owns a house in Mazatlan that is designated for Javier. Me and my wife maintain a savings account designated for Javier financial needs. Also, a car will be provided for him, so he will be transported for his basic needs and works. In the event that Javier is allowed to remain in the United States, he will have our house available for him until he gets on his feet financially. He will have my wife and my unconditional love and support. I have noticed a big change in my brother-in-law over the last 15 years. He's not the same that he was when he committed that crime. He's truly remorseful for what he had done and the lives that changed as a result of his actions. I truly believe that my brother-in-law Javier has learned the hard way, and now is a mature grown man whose family and God has oriented him. And now he understands the weight of his actions. I beg you, please consider his efforts and good behavior. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. The next speaker card we have is for Gerardo Flores. Gerardo, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hi, good morning. Buenos días a todos los presentes. Mi nombre es Gerardo Flores Vivo y soy hermano mayor de Javier Flores. Y esta carta es para reafirmar mi total apoyo y soporte a mi hermano Javier y darles a conocer que estoy...
I am sorry to interrupt you, but we do not have an interpreter in person. Do you have someone who could interpret for you?
¿no? ¿Tú lo puedes leer en inglés? Esto. En inglés. ¿No tiene el escrito en inglés? No.
We can give 5 minutes if you do have an interpreter.
No was. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, you can go ahead with your statement. We do fortunately have some panel members who will understand and will be able to relay your message to the rest of us. There.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please continue.
Thank you. Okay. Me comprometo a estar allí para él, ser más como un padre que un hermano y ayudarlo en los sucesos que se puedan presentar, así como guiarlo para que se pueda integrar a la sociedad de una forma adecuada, estando disponible para él las 24 horas, hasta que él esté completamente integrado y seguro. Le estaré apoyando de forma espiritual, presencial y económicamente para que pueda desarrollarse en todos los sentidos. Mi familia y yo estamos más que deseosos por darle la bienvenida a nuestro hogar. Sé que él no es el mismo joven de cuando fue encarcelado en el 2009, a la edad de 23 años. Hoy es un hombre maduro, responsable, que entiende las consecuencias de sus actos y el peso de sus acciones, por el cual está totalmente arrepentido y confío plenamente que cuando él salga será un mejor ser humano para la sociedad. Por favor, ruego se consideren sus esfuerzos y buen comportamiento. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you. The next speaker card I have is for Karen Sanchez. Karen, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Hello, I don't speak English. Dice, hola, mi nombre es Karen Guadalupe Sánchez Palacio. Soy la novia de Javier Flores y escribo esta carta de apoyo para hacerle saber que cuenta conmigo para todo lo que necesite. A su reincorporación a la sociedad, esto es mi apoyo moral, psicológico y financiero. Quiero que sepa que estoy totalmente consciente de todo el tiempo que ha dedicado para su recuperación y crecimiento personal y espiritual, asistiendo a los grupos, al servicio católico, en los trabajos que ha tenido dentro de la institución y los programas por correspondencia que ha llevado a cabo hasta el momento, pues he sido testigo que la ayuda que ha recibido a lo largo de todo este tiempo le ha permitido en gran manera tener cambios significativos y positivos en su persona y en su conducta desde que se encuentra en prisión en el 2009. Quiero hacerle saber a Javier Flores que con toda sinceridad y con todo el amor estaré para él, motivándolo a que acuda y no deje de asistir a los grupos de autoayuda que le servirán para seguir mejorando cada día y así tenga un mejor reingreso a la sociedad. Quiero que sepa que en mí y en mi familia aquí en Mazatlán puede encontrar una red de apoyo completa. Me comprometo a apoyarlo en todos los trámites necesarios para la adquisición de documentos de identidad, de transporte, que sepa que tiene mi apoyo financiero, de vestimenta, seguridad social, estudios médicos y acudir a instituciones de educación para que todo esto le ayude a seguir preparándose y creciendo en lo personal y profesionalmente. Muchas gracias por su tiempo. Espero consideren apto.
Thank you. Thank you. If you would like to speak in support of Javier Flores and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of Javier Flores, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Javier Flores? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers in support of Javier Flores.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Javier Flores.
Thank you, Chairperson. We do have a speaker card. Whitney Bukowski, DDA of Orange County. Whitney, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Whitney Bukowski, and I'm the assigned prosecutor to this case. I have been the assigned prosecutor since 2011, when I tried this case to a jury of 12 people. I was able to see firsthand the trauma that the inmate's actions inflicted on the victim and the victim's family based on that trial. And this case has continued to haunt me throughout my career. I had a child at the time that was exactly the same age as the victim. And so through my child's childhood, I've thought of the victim many times in this case. This is the type of crime that truly shocks the conscience. In 2009, the inmate was unemployed and he was living off of the victim's mother. She was working to try to provide for the family while the inmate would stay home and use methamphetamine and watch pornography all day long. When the family came home, by Mr. Flores' own admission, he was annoyed that he had to help take care of the family. And based on his annoyance, he decided to inflict this terrible abuse on the victim in this case. In the middle of the night, when the victim, who was just 9 months old at the time, had nobody to protect her, he did this unimaginable crime of sexually assaulting his own child. He saw her as an object for his own sexual gratification, and he caused her severe damage to her vaginal and anal openings. As anyone would, she cried out in pain. And instead of a reaction to comfort her, he instead beat her. He broke her ribs, he fractured her wrist, and he lacerated her liver. He left her to suffer throughout the night until her mother, in the morning, realized that she was in severe pain when she saw blood inside of her diaper. These are the kinds of crimes that nightmares are made of. At this point, the victim, who's now 14 years old, and her mother feel completely defeated, and they feel that the system has given up on them. When the victim learned that the inmate was eligible for parole, she attempted to take her own life. They are not here to make statements today because they've basically given up. So I'm going to be her voice today. Mr. Flores should not be released. He has severe addiction issues to drug and pornography. And back in 2009,
your time has elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Thank you. Pornography and drugs were less available in 2009 than they are now. And it's the Orange County DA's office position that he would cause an unreasonable risk of danger if he was released. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Javier Flores and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you're on the phone and want to speak in opposition of Javier Flores, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Javier Flores? Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak about Javier Flores? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Javier Flores.
The next case is Armando Frias, V17346, item 36. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
Thank you. Excuse me. We do have a number of speakers in support. The first is for Elvia Guerve or Guevare. Elvia, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone to unmute yourself. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak. Elvia, if you're with us, we cannot hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I come before you today to express my support for Mr. Frias and highlight some of the positive work he's done over the years. I understand as commissioners you have the challenging responsibility of determining whether Mr. Frias is ready to reintegrate into society. I've known Mr. Frias since 1993 and have witnessed firsthand his transformation from a young teenage boy to a mature, committed, faith-based adult. I'll be the first to say that his transformation was no walk in the park, and although it came under unfortunate circumstances, it has led him to significant changes to his narrative. His participation in various rehabilitation programs, including educational and vocational initiatives, has demonstrated his eagerness to make a positive change for himself and others. He's had to face the truths about childhood trauma, the consequences for his actions, as well as seek forgiveness for all the hurt and pain he's caused. In addition, Mr. Frias has provided outreach to at-risk youth who in times of distress need to lean on someone that truly understands them. Although behind bars, he has been that sound voice for many at-risk youth and has provided guidance and inspiration in times of distress. The support and guidance he has provided has led to positive change in our community. I have witnessed that firsthand. The man you reviewed today is not the same young man who walked in the CDCR 22 years ago. I can say wholeheartedly that his sense of remorse has brought a new level of integrity, honesty, and responsibility, which has been remarkable to witness. In addition to mentoring youth, he has mentored his peers and created a sense of acceptance for those who want to change. Lastly, your commissioner, I would like to emphasize the strong support system that Mr. Frias has both within our families and in the community. Several community organizations and individuals have expressed their willingness to offer guidance, employment opportunities, and resources to help him reintegrate successfully into society. As a childhood friend, I am fully committed to supporting his transition.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Okay. I'm confident that he will be able to lead a productive, fulfilling, and law-abiding life. I want to thank you for your time and attention to this matter. I appreciate your consideration and trust you'll see his readiness for parole. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker card we have is for Julie Reynolds. Julie, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself or press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Good morning, commissioners, or afternoon. I met Armando Frias in 2003 when I was a reporter covering youth violence in the Selenas Valley. Because of my knowledge of the gangs of that region, I've been an instructor at law enforcement conferences and at officer trainings. I'm also a victim of violent crime, so I take very seriously the weight of recommending someone for parole. And I've been very moved by other victims' statements today. Armando had just left his gang when I met him at the age of 20. But as he's matured, I've seen that leaving the gang mentality is what takes the most work. I've always told Armando I would not recommend him for parole unless I truly was convinced he'd left that mentality behind. Over these decades, I've seen him gain deep insight into the damage he wrought, not just on his direct victims, but the entire community of Selenas. He's developed remorse and empathy, and he accepts responsibility for his violence. But what's more important are his actions. The way he deals with anger today is totally unlike his early years in prison. He literally turns the other cheek when other men want to start fights. He's matured into a counselor for younger inmates, inviting them to join in groups where men hold each other accountable and learn new ways to deal with their emotions. I've seen him show vulnerability instead of machismo and patience instead of impulsiveness. I'm convinced he's no longer a threat to our community. I'd welcome him as a neighbor and a role model for my nieces and nephews, and I know that he will continue to make amends by mentoring youth. I strongly urge the board to uphold his grant of parole. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker card I have is for Rocky Hunt. Rocky, if you're with us, go ahead and unmute yourself. Press *6 by telephone. Your 2 minutes starts when you begin to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, my name is Rocky Hunt. I'm a former lifer, was paroled 3 years ago. I've known Armando for about 7 years now. I just want to say a lot about him. You know, from when we were inside, you know, I was the lead facilitator for our youth offender program. I've seen a lot of stuff that he did with youth. Very impactful. Used to get him to sign up for school, get him working out. You know, there were times we had a youngster that couldn't read or write, you know, and we would have him read us a book, and then also we would help him write letters to his wife as part of the deal. But like the impact that he had on youngsters was really impactful. He's continued to work. Since I've been pro, I'm out here. I'm at a organization called Courage, Communities United for Restorative Justice, and we have a lot of stuff for him out here. He's gonna be doing a lot of stuff that I do, going into the juvenile halls, going into prisons. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to go into Pleasant Valley Prison right now. And we have a lot of connections for him, and he's gonna be doing the same thing. My circle of friends are all former lifers that are out here doing really well, going into prison, getting homeless back into, you know, programmings and into housing. I'm really good, close friends with Jason Bell, Project Rebound, who's going to connect Armando Frias to get him into school so he can continue his education, to get his master's degree. And we have a lot waiting for him. And Armando's he's really changed. I'm very proud of it. He's still a mentor to me even out here, because, you know, out here there's a lot of struggles for lifers. I mean, whether, you know, it's relationships and stuff, and we really, you know, lean on each other out here. It's not easy, but I'll be out here, you know, the moment that he gets out, to make sure that he's all right, share him you know, some of the struggles that I've had out here. So we have a lot of support around him as soon as he comes home, and we're going to get him into our programs. We have adult life coaching as well, but we're going to get him connected with our kids. We have a lot of youth programs. We get them involved in legal policy.
Your 2 minutes has elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Yeah, we just got a lot for him out here, and he's going to be really successful and really contribute to community safety out here when he comes home. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys, you know, this grant stays. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in support of Armando Frias and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of Armando Frias, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Armando Frias? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers in support of Armando Frias.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Armando Frias.
Thank you. I do not have any speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Armando Frias and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in we do have a hand raised. Go ahead for Maureen Green. Well, there was a hand raised. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I did submit a speaker card. I'm sorry you're not aware of it. In 2001, inmate Armando Frias shot and killed fellow gang member Raymond Sanchez in a bar. The murder was the culmination of events related to the Nuestra Familia's attempt to control the drug trade in Selenas. The decedent, Raymond Sanchez, was a fellow gang member and was a drug dealer who had permission to sell in Chinatown. But when new gang leadership came in, they revoked that permission, and Mr. Sanchez disagreed with the new leadership and disagreed they could override his permission. Inmate Frias openly shot Mr. Sanchez in a bar, and on his way out, shot Mr. Sanchez's companion, Mr. Joe Cantu, in the neck. The inmate admitted at his initial hearing, that Mr. Cantu was an innocent, and he told the panel he shot him because he got in his way. The inmate came to prison in 2003 after pleading to first-degree murder and immediately requested SNY. He continued his gang activity and his gang mindset through, admittedly, 2019 in SNY, though claiming he disassociated in 2019. 2019 is just the last date of his documented deception, falsified documents. He admitted at the hearing he manipulated and minimized to the reporter, Ms. Reynolds, from 2003 to 2019, a reporter that first reached out to him in 2003. The 2024 clinician rated the inmate a moderate risk, a somewhat elevated risk, and expressed concern regarding his substance abuse up to 2018, which she still considered relatively recent given the long-standing use, and his continued negative peer associations through at least 2019, despite requesting SNY. We opposed parole based on the inmate's long history of manipulation, and we asserted ongoing manipulation and deception and minimization to the panel about his gang involvement in prison. We therefore respectfully recommend rescission of the grant. Thank you.
Thank you. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in opposition of Armando Frias, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who would like to speak in opposition of Armando Frias? Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak about Armando Frias? Chairperson, there appear to be no more speakers for Armando Frias.
The next case is John Hendricks, B39977, item 37. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
Thank you, Chairperson. I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of John Hendricks and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in support of John Hendricks, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of John Hendricks? Chairperson, there appear to be no speakers in support of John Hendricks.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to John Hendricks.
Thank you. I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of John Hendricks and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button, and I'll call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and you want to speak in opposition of John Hendricks, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of John Hendricks? Is there anyone who has not spoken who would like to speak about John Hendricks? Chairperson, there appear to be no speakers for John Hendricks.
The next case is Jose Indicochea, AR 8872, item 38. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
There are no speaker cards. I have no speaker cards, excuse me. If you would like to speak in support of Jose Indicochea and are on video, please raise your hand using Microsoft Teams button, and I will call you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Jose Indicochea, please unmute yourself and press *6 and identify yourself. Oh, I see a hand up for Darlene Indicochea. You have 2 minutes. They begin when you begin to speak.
Yes, my name is Darlene Indicochea. I am the mother of Jose. He has a very loving family here that's waiting for him to come home. I didn't plan anything to speak, but I'm just going to talk from my heart. Jose, he is so remorseful for what has happened and taken place. He knows how he's hurt so many people, not just the victim's family, but his own family as well and friends. He has taken full advantage of every program I think is imaginable while he's been incarcerated. He was having an alcohol problem, and you gave him the support that he so dearly needed, that he needed from his family, but he got it through incarceration. We are so thankful for that. While he's been there and incarcerated, we've seen him mature and grow. He's the Jose that we all know and love. He's never been one to be confrontational to people. He's one that'll actually go to try to get people to patch up their whatever they're upset about. He'll try to patch them up peacefully. He's just a very respectful person. He's got so much support here at home, through the community, family, extended family. He's part of a Basque community that I was just at a meeting this weekend with them. They are all asking for Jose. They have been supportive of him throughout this ordeal. He's just, I think he's done his time. I think he deserves a second chance. He really doesn't have much of a criminal record of any kind. I mean, he had a little DUI and stuff. I shouldn't say little, but that's a big thing. Before his incarceration, but before that, there was had no criminal history whatsoever. He's been a model prisoner. He's done everything, even to help stuff and volunteer to do stuff while there. He sent me his certificates from classes. I think he could wallpaper a room with them. He's got so many. He's just I mean, yeah, speaking for a mother, I know, but he's just a good young man. And he's just got so much love out here waiting and support, places to stay, jobs. I don't see him ever reoffending.
Your 2 minutes has elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
This was a huge eye-opener for him, as well as his family. So I know he's got the support and love here. I'm sure he'll be a model citizen if you grant him his release. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in support of Jose Indichoa and are on video, please raise your hand. Oh, I see Diana. Diana, you have 2 minutes. They begin when you speak. Diana, if you are muted, we cannot hear you. Please unmute yourself. Diana Pertuso. Could you leave? I believe she has left. If anyone else would like to, oh, she's back.
There we go. Sorry about that.
You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm Jose Indicochea's cousin and Darlene's cousin who just spoke. And I just wanted to say my entire family has written letters, and I'm sure you have them there with you. We have nothing but support for Jose. One of the things I had mentioned in my letter was at the very beginning, when I went to visit Jose, I had asked him, I guess it was a few years after he had been incarcerated. We were talking about parole, and I mentioned him being on parole, and he just looked at me and he said, "Oh, absolutely not. There's absolutely no way I'm ready for it. I have too much to work on. There's too many things that I need to learn about myself, and this is exactly where I need to be." And I'm at that point in his life, he was actually grateful that he was incarcerated because he was afraid of the path that he was on. He didn't really think that he would even be alive to that day. So he was just constantly working to improve himself, trying to make amends for the actions he had taken, completely remorseful. And to this day, he's just the person that we all knew that he always was, but he's back to the person that he was as a child, and just a good, kind-hearted person. That I just want to thank the system basically for giving him the opportunity to be the man that we all knew he was, but bringing him back to us. And as I said, our entire family is here to support him with whatever he needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in support of Jose Indicochoa and are on video, please raise your hand and we will call on you. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Jose Indicochoa, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Jose Indicochoa? Chairperson, there are no more speakers in support of Jose Indicachoa.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Jose Indicachoa.
I do have one speaker card for Dana Bryson. Dana, you have 2 minutes when you begin speaking.
Thank you. I'm with the Riverside County District Attorney's Office. In January of 2012, this inmate walked up to his victim laying on a couch and plunged a blade 5 inches into his heart. To this day, no one knows why he did it. The inmate in his 2022 CRA denied he had the intent to kill and gave various minimized versions. In his 2024 parole hearing, the board struggled trying to understand why he did this, as the inmate's explanation was inconsistent and confusing. The inmate did admit that he had lied in his 2022 CRA about his intent, one of the reasons for his denial in 2022. But importantly, he also lied in the CRA about being addicted to meth. That addiction is never discussed or evaluated in the CRA because of these lies. In fact, in 2012, an evaluation was done by his defense that talks about how he was highly addicted to meth and admitted using it every day for 5 to 6 years before the offense. He has even admitted to hearing voices at the time of the life crime due to this use. The inmate told the board in 2022 he had told the clinician about his meth addiction, but the board again did not believe him, and his credibility was another reason he was denied. Concerning is I'm not sure the governor was fully aware of this history. The governor's letter does not mention his meth addiction because I submit they did not know about it due to the lies made in the CRA. The question now raised by the governor is about the inmate's relapse prevention and strength of his support. Since 2022, some more programs were done, and there's clearly some support. But just as the 2022 CR clinician did not know about this addiction, the letters of support discussed their knowledge of alcohol use by the inmate, but do not talk about him having a meth problem. The inmate submitted a list of rehab programs on 281 of the master file. This list included a laundry list of programs for women's, veterans, and for problems not related to this inmate. Some do relate to him, but I could not see, nor does it appear to have been asked where he actually plans to be treated. I submit that the CRA assessment as to his risk is fundamentally flawed due to the lies of this inmate about his meth addiction. Addiction to meth is not the same as addiction to alcohol due to the devastating psychological issues caused by the drug, including oftentimes psychotic symptoms. Without
Your
a direct
2 minutes
rehab
have
plan,
elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
without a direct rehab plan of his meth addiction, his lack of insight of why this crime occurred, and knowledge by his supporters of this addiction, the inmate remains an unreasonable risk to public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak, in opposition of Jose Indicachoa, please raise your hand and we will call upon you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of Jose Indicachoa? Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak about Jose Indicachoa? Chairperson, there are no more speakers for Jose Indicachoa.
The next case is Dewan McMeans v. 02586, item 39. Moderator, please call for speakers in support.
I have one speaker card for Alfred Weissman. If you are with us, please unmute yourself. If you are calling in, please hit *6.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Al Wiseman. I am the attorney that represented Mr. McMeans at his suitability hearing conducted on or about June 21st of this year. I'm responding to the governor's concerns that he has expressed in his statement of reasons that's been submitted to this executive board. It appears that the governor was concerned about Mr. McMeans' parole plans, relapse prevention plan, support system, and his ability to function once he's released back into society. I'd like to point out to the board that the original comprehensive risk assessment that was conducted approximately 15 months prior to Mr. McMeans' hearing, the forensic psychologist did not have the benefit of the 14-page relapse prevention plan that Mr. McMeans submitted for the board hearing. In addition, in regards to the governor's concerns about his parole plans, submitted in concurrence with this statement are approximately 7 letters from family and friends for Mr. McMeans expressing their ability to help him in writing that this board can consider. I'd like to particularly note 2 letters that were included, one by Catherine M. Perkins She is a facilitator at the 10P program inside the Lancaster State Prison, and her letter speaks to her connection to Mr. McMeans for many years, his change and emotional growth, and the support that her organization can provide for Mr. McMeans. In addition, there is a letter of support from Ms. Edwards, who is a member of the California Justice Alliance in Oakland, and that letter details numerous support organizations and people that will help Mr. McMeans when released, and also expresses her personal knowledge of Mr. McMeans and his change over the years. I believe that once the board reviews the transcript of the hearing...
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
I believe the board will affirm the grant based on these factors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in support of Dewan McMeans and are on video, please raise your hand using Microsoft Teams button, and I will call on you when it's your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support, oh, I see. Antoinette Garlington, please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes when you begin speaking.
Hello, I am Antoinette, the fiance of Dewan McMeans, and over the course of time, our interactions have concluded over about 14 years with each other, with 3 years left on a 27-year sentence. Mr. McMeans has demonstrated and showed insight and empathy towards the crimes in which he has committed, which is also detailed in the relapse prevention plan mentioned by his attorney, Mr. Weissman. Throughout the time and course of our interactions, Mr. McMeans has watched me go from being unemployed to employed for 12 years on my job, as well as operating and owning my own business for the last 6 years, in which he's also experienced some of the seminars, webinars, and trials and tribulations in which I've gone through within that process. I've also taught and I've also learned within myself financial literacy, which was something that he struggled with at a point in time. And within learning that, he now has seen the process in which his crimes took place to now know and understand how to navigate through life, as well as with my resources and connections that I have within my jobs, which I vendor with an agency through the South Central Regional Center, which assists and aids mental health and intellectually disabled adults with navigating life on the streets. With that resource, I have connections with mental health services, as well as workforce centers that can also assist him with employment and full support for him to be successful on the streets once he is released. And within those, also within my business, I do also have connections with resource centers and workforce centers that do aid and assist repeat offenders.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
In conclusion, I ask that the board do take in consideration the previous decision determined on June 12th in affirming his release, as he does have full support available from me as well as family members for him to successfully integrate back into society. Thank you.
Thank you. Lanisha Edwards, please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes. It starts when you begin speaking.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Lanisha Edwards. I am a survivor leader. I also do violence intervention work and am a community violence intervention specialist with the Department of Public Health. Dewan McMeans is someone that I have known for many years. I can honestly say that I've seen so much growth and maturity in his overall attitude towards his personal life, family, and community. I am actually very amazed by the way he has truly taken accountability for his actions, taken accountability for his growth, forward progress in life, for his dreams. Growing up in communities that are impacted by crime and violence, Accountability is something that is lacking. So to hear how he has taken accountability for his past actions, his future actions, his growth is truly honorable. It has always been said that people deserve second chances. Sadly, sometimes being released on parole is giving people access to resource is giving them their first chance. I personally feel supportive of Mr. McMeans and connecting him with many community organizations as listed in my letter. I will not list all of them out here, but they range from connections to drug and alcohol programs, community violence intervention programs. I think most importantly, survivor-related support groups. I believe we all have the understanding and knowledge that connecting to family and other community resources can mean the world of difference. We are here to support Mr. McMeans today in re-entering society, acclimating himself to all of the...
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Thank you. Connecting him to very needed and supported resources, and just really standing here to say today that he does have a lot of community and family support. I think that he will do well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Dejan McMeans?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Catherine Clark. I'm the CEO of Catron Academy. For the Board of Parole hearings, I'm the facilitator also. And Mr. Dejan McMeans, for many years since his incarceration, during this time, he has shown exceptional attendance and brings seriousness to change towards his correspondence class discussions about rehabilitation and accountability towards his spiritual growth with my lessons. I'm also a member of the African American Advisory Board, Vice Chairman of DA George Gascon. And hopefully the review panel will accept this letter of reference on his behalf and enable him to further make positive changes to help advocate on his life by getting a lenient sentence and possibly a release to his family. Dejan is a soft-spoken, pleasant, mild-mannered young man and has an easygoing disposition. I am familiar with his history with the law. Mr. McMeans has participated in many courses from behind the wall, and hopefully he will be given a second chance to re-enter society and give back to society with his family. Mr. McMeans, if given the opportunity, will come home serving with a willing heart because of his transformation and his love for his community, that he would be that light shining, working, going back to school, and also returning back to camp to share his story with the people he will leave behind the wall. Mr. McMeans has shown himself by producing the results. I realize how important it is for one who has had problems with the law to make positive changes in their life. Mr. McMeans, through his classwork and attendance, has shown me that he has a desire and is willing to make these changes. He is willing and is capable of turning his life around. And for this reason, I am happy to be able to write a letter of reference in regards to his present character and not
your
his
2
past.
minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Thank you. And I am an ordained evangelist of the Church of the Living God and a peace ambassador of South Ceasefire. And we have jobs for him. And thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Dejan McMeans? Chairperson, there are no more speakers in support of Dejan McMeans.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Dewan McMeans.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Dejan McMeans and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in opposition of Dewan McMeans, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Dewan McMeans? Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak about Dewan McMeans? Chairperson, there are no more speakers for Dewan McMeans.
The next case is Andre Murphy, P56606, item 40. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
There are no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of Andre Murphy and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Andre Murphy, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Andre Murphy? Chairperson, there are no more speakers in support of Andre Murphy.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Andre Murphy.
I have one speaker card for Karen Mitchell. Karen Mitchell, if you are with us, please unmute yourself. If you are calling in, hit *6.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Fresno County DA's office agrees with the governor's concerns and respectfully requests the board rescind the parole decision and a new hearing be scheduled. Murphy viciously beat his girlfriend, threw her out of the house, and ripped off her nightgown in the middle of the street. Nude and beaten, she tried getting back into her house, but she kept losing consciousness. When she finally came to, he beat and kicked her more. Police found her bleeding from both nostrils, her mouth, one of her ears was ripped through the cartilage. One officer said her face was deformed. During his hearing, the inmate admitted for the first time that he wanted to control her and kill her. As the governor pointed out, in the CRA, one of the doctor's concerns was the inmate's ability to not control or manipulate a partner. We agree, especially since the inmate had no relapse prevention plans for domestic violence, anger, or any other types of violence. He's a three-striker with a long history of violence against innocent victims, like the little boy he picked up and swung by the arm, slamming him into the top of a fence twice, beating at least 2 of his non-resisting robbery victims unconscious, and committing further violence against women. One of his critical risk factors that was not mitigated and must be before he's released is criminal thinking. Yet the day of his hearing, he was only in his 3rd class for criminal thinking and could not explain what it is to the commissioner when asked. This was only a few months ago. Every year from 2016 to 2021, he had an RVR. At the time of the hearing, he had a pending RVR from 1/8/24. He was found not guilty of it, but it was pending review at the time of the hearing. We do not know the details about it. There are too many unresolved issues that show he has not yet gained the insight and ability to not act on his violent criminal thinking, especially against women. His risk factors, especially with women and relationships, have not been self-identified and addressed, and his minimal gains, as well as the moderate CRA, do not support his release at this time.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
To the safety of the public, so we do respectfully request the decision be rescinded and a new hearing set. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Andre Murphy and are on video, please raise your hand using Microsoft Teams, and I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on phone and would like to speak in opposition of Andre Murphy, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who would like to speak in opposition of Andre Murphy? Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak about Andre Murphy? Chairperson, there are no more speakers for Andre Murphy.
The next case is Pedro Rivera, AF 2356, item 41. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of Pedro Rivera and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Pedro Rivera, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who would like to speak in support of Pedro Rivera? Chairperson, there are no speakers in support of Pedro Rivera.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Pedro Rivera.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Pedro Rivera and are on video, please raise your hand using Microsoft Teams button. I will call you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in opposition of Pedro Rivera, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of Pedro Rivera? Wendy Zuniga, please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes when you begin speaking.
Hi, so I am the victim's sister. Pedro doesn't understand. He seems to understand what he did, but to me and my sisters, he took someone away from us that was very important. And when we heard the hearing, the last hearing he had, he said he did it so he can look good for his gang, which my brother did not talk to him, did not interact with him that day. He said he saw him riding his bike. Pedro said he saw my brother riding his bike along and shot him. Me and my sisters do not feel like he should be let out so soon. We feel like he still needs some time to understand fully of what he did to us. It's just everyone knows that whoever lost someone knows how it is to not have someone there for you. We just don't feel he's ready to be let out yet, especially since it was for a gang. He says he's not gonna join this gang again, but everyone knows that once you are in the gang, it's hard to get out, especially the type of gang that he was in. We just hope that he understands and sees what he did was wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Pedro Rivera? Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak about Pedro Rivera? Chairperson, there are no more speakers for Pedro Rivera.
The next case is Roy Rodriguez, P22401, item 42. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of Roy Rodriguez and are on video, please raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Roy Rodriguez, Please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not? Hello?
Yes. Hello. My name is Larissa Angeles. I am the oldest niece of my Uncle Roy. I'm here in support of my Uncle Roy. My Uncle Roy has accepted his mistakes and grown from them. My Uncle Roy has committed a crime that he is well aware of. He accepts the effects it has had not only on the victim, but also on his family and all of us here at home. He is extremely remorseful and has continued to grow from it. My uncle is the closest thing that I have to a father figure. Me and my 3 younger sisters speak with him almost every single day, and we can inform you that he is 1,000% focused on his growth and development as a law-abiding citizen. My Uncle Roy continues to grow consistently while being behind those bars, reaching out to his community, wanting to be involved in his education time after time again, completing multiple programs, and really striving for a better self. He is a beautiful person with a heart of gold. My uncle loves so hard and continues to show me and all of my sisters and my mother that he is ready to be integrated into society, love on his family, and build the rest of the life that he has, as well as his career, with all of our support. Me, as well as my 3 younger sisters and my mother, all look to him as our father. Me and my 3 sisters have been in contact with him almost every single day that he has been in there, multiple times a day, and he continues to speak life into us. He is in constant support of us and whatever life decisions we have going on. He is always there for us and continues to put us in the right path. And with his support, as well as our support, we will help him migrate into society. We have a home for him here, as well as a job when or if released, and will continue to guide him. My Uncle Roy Rodriguez is not a risk to society, and we, on behalf of me and all of my family,
your 2 minutes has elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Thank you for your time again. Oh, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Roy Rodriguez? Chairperson, there are no more speakers in support of Roy Rodriguez.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Roy Rodriguez.
Hello? Hi, this is for Roy Rodriguez.
Do I? Yes, go
Hello?
ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, so this is, my name is Robert Rodriguez. Roy's my brother. I want to first say thank you for having me. I can assure that my brother has become a new person, a new man, and he's been rehabilitated by your system, and I thank you guys for that. I've noticed a significant amount of change. He demonstrates that he wants to live a clean life. He has taken full responsibility to his past action. He thrives into become a better person. He disengages from any negative things that comes his way. He's very remorseful for what he did. He has taken many steps to show he's ready for the outside world. He has taken several programs to better himself: anger management, criminal thinking, substance abuse, domestic violence, CGA, AVP, etc. Again, my brother has shown great remorse, great discipline. He has shown great understanding of his past action and has impacted everybody around him. He does not show any sign of violence, disrespect, or disobedience. He does what he asks, and he follows the rules. My brother has full support of the moment he walked out of that prison. He will live a law-abiding clean life. He will continue to be a better person. As he is today, he is no threat to anyone. So, yeah, that's what I got to say. I appreciate you guys' time. Just look at what he has done or what he is today. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one speaker card in opposition for Roy Rodriguez for Maureen Green. If you are with us, please unmute yourself. If you are calling in, please hit *6. Your 2 minutes start when you begin to speak.
Thank you. In 1998, officers responded to a robbery and approached a car carrying the inmate. The inmate fled up onto a roof. There was a protracted standoff and SWAT was called in. When an officer attempted to apprehend the inmate, he cut the officer's arm and head and tried to take the officer's firearm. He told the panel he was under the influence, but would have tried to kill the officer anyway if sober, because he was trying to get himself out of the misery of this life. In a companion case originating from the preceding year, the Selenas police conducted a probation search of the inmate's residence. They recovered a telephone bill marked Las Casitas and East Las Casitas regional gangs. They found 4 firearms, including a loaded 9mm, a .380 semi-automatic, a loaded AK-47, and an Intratec 9 assault pistol modified to operate as a machine gun. The disconnector of the pistol had been filed down to permit continuous firing with 1 trigger pull. The governor's concerns are the same as our concerns and were our reasons for opposition. The inmate received 2 successive, somewhat elevated risk ratings, moderate. It was stressed by a previous panel to prepare detailed parole plans in relevant areas, and he did not have them 60 days before his hearing at his clinical examination. He had recent misconduct, including unemployment fraud and restitution fraud. He would need to cooperate with parole on release, and he cannot be relied upon to do so where he's still committing fraud and still defiant. On behalf of law enforcement and the community, we are opposed and we recommend rescission. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Roy Rodriguez and are on video, raise your hand using Microsoft Teams button, and I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in opposition of Roy Rodriguez, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Roy Rodriguez? Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak about Roy Rodriguez?
Hello.
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 Your name?
Hello. Hi, my name is Patricia Rodriguez. I am sister of Roy Rodriguez. I'm here to express my strong support for the parole of Roy Rodriguez, who has been incarcerated at Avenal Prison for the past 26 years. While being incarcerated, he has attended and was given certificates and courses in Alcoholic Anonymous, Anger Management, Gang Anonymous, and a few other courses. Through these courses, he has matured in the last 26 years that he has been incarcerated. He has a peer counselor he goes to talk when needed. Hello? He knows what's right from wrong. He speaks positively and maturely. Once he is granted parole, he will be going transitional housing in which they will get him ready for society and to be more productive. After 26 years being incarcerated. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous here. I hope that you guys will think of giving him parole. We want him home. We miss him a lot. And he's missed out on a lot of things in our lives. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank you guys for listening and for your time here to listen to our support. Have a good day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak about Roy Rodriguez? Chairperson, there are no more speakers for Roy Rodriguez.
The next case is Joel Selenas, K71320, item 43. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of Joel Selenas and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Joel Selenas, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who would like to speak in support of Joel Selenas?
Hello, I would like to speak.
You have 2 minutes when you begin. Hello?
Hello, yes, sorry. Hello, my name is Michelle Olivas. I am the younger sister of Joel Selenas. Sorry, I'm really nervous as well. I was about 2 years old when my brother was sent to prison. It's been about 28 years. And in that time, through phone calls, I have seen a drastic positive difference. Excuse me. In my brother. He has completed almost every program offered in state prisons, ensuring he has been educated and bettering himself as a person. Due to this, as an educator and community advocate, I am able to turn to my brother to gain knowledge on, excuse me? Due to me being an educator and community advocate, I am able to turn to my brother to gain knowledge on how to positively impact youth, to diverge them from being negatively impacted by their adversities. As I am able to turn to him, he also has my 100% full support. I know that if my brother gets granted release, he will be joining me in mentoring youth and bettering our community, for that is most important to us in our family. I hope that you guys understand the emotional burdens it has been to lose an older brother to the prison system. It is unfair for us as people of color that we constantly have to go through these adversities. And due to his experiences, that is why I became an educator and a community advocate to ensure our youth have a better pathway in life. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Joel Selenas? Chairperson, there are no speakers in support of Joel Selenas.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Joel Selenas.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Joel Selenas and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in opposition of Joel Selenas, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of Joel Selenas? Is there anyone who would like to speak about Joel Selenas? Chairperson, there are no speakers for Joel Selenas.
The next case is Edwin Smith, PO 4864, item 44. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
The first speaker is Janae Smith. If you are with us, please unmute yourself If you are calling in, please hit *6. You have 2 minutes. It begins when you begin speaking. Janae Smith, if you are speaking, we cannot hear you.
Hello. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to thank the board for this opportunity to offer my impartial opinion regarding Edwin Smith and his suitability. I have known Mr. Smith since he was a preteen. He grew up curious and mischievous, and that landed him in compromising situations. He was misguided and self-absorbed. Growing up without a father or positive male role model crippled him in his development. When he became a father, he struggled with how to play his part. Once incarcerated, he found understanding and hope. He began to see his life's picture more clearly and identified what he needed to change to be a better person. One day he wrote me a letter. In it, he shared how regretful and sorry he was for not being who my children and I needed him to be. He mentioned how he was working on himself and what the self-help groups were offering him. He even admitted how he found Christ and working on this relationship to know him better. This all sounded too good to be true, but I allowed him a chance to show me who he truly was. Over the years, I found that he worked hard to be better. He learned and applied the 12-step principles to his daily walk. He learned to work on controlling his anger and frustration. He learned to be considerate to others' feelings. He learned to control his impulses and identify the root causes of his behavior. He learned to be open and express his feelings and allow himself to be vulnerable. He took a welding course that he graduated from and received a certificate. He is on a daily journey walking with Christ, which keeps him focused and allows room for growth and change. All these resources that he utilizes while incarcerated to keep him growing in a positive direction are accessible to him once he is released. He has expressed his remorse and shown these changes amongst those who he interacts with daily. I am in absolute support of
Your
Edwin
2 minutes
being,
have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
okay. I am in absolute support of Edwin being released and re-entered into society, and I will support him in every way possible. And I am patiently awaiting your decision and ask that you affirm his original decision for being paroled. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Letitia Smith. If you are with us, please unmute yourself. If you are calling in, please hit *6. You have 2 minutes. It begins when you begin speaking. Letitia Smith.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, members of the board, for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf of my father, Edwin Smith. My dad was present in my life during birth to 8 years of age. During the time of his absence, I grew up not recognizing the importance of his role in my life. I navigated through life trying to cover up some voids created from his absence and filling those gaps with insignificant and disappointments. Those times he was present, I wasn't thinking of him as the father of the year, but he was caring and enjoyable to be around. As we began reconnecting with one another, I began to see the impact and the importance of having my dad in my life. With the conversations and visits we have shared, he has helped me understand how immature and selfish he used to be when I was younger. And I can see how he is today in his genuineness, compassion, and self-awareness. Over the years, he has honestly shown a great deal of growth and maturity and shares the knowledge and understanding that helps my personal growth and strengthens our family bond. He has established meaningful relationships with my children, and they have a lot of respect for him. I fully support his release and welcome him into my home and will offer all support, guidance, and resources to help him with his integration into society and continued success. Thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Shirley Frazier. If you are with us, please unmute yourself. If you are calling in, please hit *6. Your 2 minutes start when you begin to speak. Shirley Frazier? We will circle back. If you would like to speak in support of Edwin Smith and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Edwin Smith, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Edwin Smith? Shirley Frazier, are you with us? Chairperson, there are no more speakers in support of Edwin Smith.
Thank you. We will now take speakers in opposition to Edwin Smith.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in opposition of Edwin Smith and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. Irene Valesco, you have 2 minutes. It begins when you begin to speak.
Yes, I'll be speaking on behalf of Veronica Pickett Hudson today. My name is Veronica Pickett Hudson. I am the sister of Ernest Pickett Jr., who was murdered by Edwin Smith in 1984. The loss of my brother has left an ineligible mark on my family and me, causing unimaginable pain and suffering that has persisted for decades. Since the tragic day, our family has been shattered. My father has since passed away, and my mother continues to live with the emotional scars of losing her only son. The grief and trauma have affected every aspect of our lives. We have had to navigate in a world forever changed by the absence of Ernie, who was loved and cherished. Edwin Smith's actions not only took my brother's life, but also left a lasting void in our family. After evading justice for over a decade, he was finally convicted in 1997. Yet his time in prison has not been without further incidents. He has demolished and disregarded for the law and has been involved in attempts to introduce contraband into the prison system. Although he may present himself as rehabilitated, 10 years of an incarceration is insufficient to truly reflect his character and the threat he poses. His recent admission to additional violent behavior confirms my fears that he remains a danger to society. As a victim sister, I believe that Edwin Smith should serve a minimum of 20 consecutive years without any violations before considered for parole. The pain and suffering my family continues to endure deserves to be acknowledged, and releasing him would only perpetuate our trauma and endanger others. I urge you to take this statement into account and deny his parole. No amount of time can erase the impact.
Your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Erase his actions on my family and the community. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. Veronica Pickett Hudson.
Thank you.
And moderator, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to note for all the commissioners that Ms. Pickett Hudson also did join us online.
Vanessa Flower, please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes. It starts when you begin to speak.
Hello, board. I would like to acknowledge, can you hear me? I would like to acknowledge the board and thank you for taking the time for me to speak about my brother. In 1984, Edwin Smith took the life of my only brother, who was an honor student and an aspiring baseball player. At the time of Ernie's death, he was being recruited by the Oakland A's minor league baseball team, which in fact has never been able to become fruition. Mr. Smith's gang relations has caused lots of sleepless nights for my family and personally my mom. He's a high-profile gang member of the Rolling 60s, and I don't believe that he has been reformed. Please consider the fact that he has also murdered others besides my brother. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee Bertha Pickett Allen, please
Good
unmute
afternoon.
yourself.
See if they can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Lee Bertha Pickett Allen. I am the mother of Ernest Pickett Jr. And I'm going to try and get through this with a steady voice and not many tears. I have cried many years with Edwin Smith having murdered my son. My son had never done anything to him. Edwin Smith was a gang member, and while incarcerated, he did many of things. I know the board knows because you have this record that he was making drugs in jail and everything else. You know, I also know I've gone to all the parole hearings, and I also know that he has gone to some programs, especially the AA and NA programs, where he learned the catchwords of the program itself that would make you think that he had changed. It has taken him, I don't know how many years to even acknowledge that he had murdered Ernie. You know, when Edwin, I know I'm going all over I'm going all over, but you know, when he was caught, it took him 14 years before they even caught him. And when they caught him, he was dressed up in women's gear. He was dressed up as a woman. I'm asking the board because I'm still afraid that I live in the same house and he knows where I live, and I'm afraid that I'm afraid for my own safety. Yes, I have lived with this for many years. I have looked him in the eyes, and I know that I think one of the women that spoke today, I think one of them is his wife. He got his wife to commit crimes for him while he was in prison. So I had not expected to speak today. I just thought you would receive my letter. And since I heard so many people speaking, I did not want to miss the opportunity of having
your 2 minutes have elapsed. Please conclude your statement.
Yes, and I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. I didn't know that I was going to. I would have been better prepared, but I can always talk about my wonderful son that was taken away from me for no reason at all. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Edwin Smith, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Is there anyone who has not spoken who wants to speak in opposition of Edwin Smith? Is there anyone else who has not spoken who would like to speak about Edwin Smith? Shirley Frazier, are you available to speak at this time? Chairperson, there are no more speakers for Edwin Smith.
The next case is Oscar Valles, BE 1072, item 45. Moderator, please call speakers in support.
I have no speaker cards. If you would like to speak in support of Oscar Valles and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call you when it is your turn to speak. If you are on the phone and want to speak in support of Oscar Valles, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 and identify yourself. Is there anyone else who has not spoken who wants to speak in support of Oscar Valles? Chairperson, there are no speakers for in support of Oscar Valles.
Moderator, we will now take speakers in opposition to Oscar Valles.
Our first speaker is Jessica Valladolid. Jessica, if you are with us, please unmute yourself. If you are calling in, please hit *6. You have 2 minutes, which begins when you begin speaking. Jessica?
Bueno. ¿Sí?
You have 2
Can
minutes.
you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Soy Jessica Tello, hermana de la víctima. Su señoría, para nosotros es muy doloroso revivir todo esto. Solo le pido de la manera más atenta justicia. Justicia por la muerte de mi hermano. Oscar Valles debe de pagar todo el dolor causado hacia mis padres. Estar tras las rejas no es un consuelo, pero es paz a nuestra alma, principalmente a la de mis papás. Ustedes, más que nadie, saben la forma en la que Oscar le arrebató la vida a mi hermano. Y esa persona no merece estar en las calles como si nada. No hay más palabras a este dolor que sentimos tan grande. 10 años para nosotros no es nada. Aún así, DUREE 20, 30, no nos va a regresar a mi hermano. Él era un joven lleno de vida, alegre, estaba al pendiente de mis papás. Él se fue a los Estados Unidos muy joven para brindarnos una vida mejor, tanto a sus padres como a mí. No sé qué más decir, más que él cambió la vida para todos nosotros, principalmente a la de mis padres. De antemano, muchas gracias. Que Dios la bendiga a su señoría. Gracias.
Thank you. Elizabeth Bolanos, if you are with us, you have 2 minutes. If you are calling in, please hit *6. You have 2 minutes to speak when you begin.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah? Okay. Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I am the sister-in-law of Olegario, the victim. It's really hard when we found out that he was wanting to be released early. He's only done 10 years. I mean, this wasn't an accident or a manslaughter. This was a full-on murder. He stabbed him multiple times, not one, not twice. He did not stop from the first stab wound. He continued until the knife broke in his body. He stabbed his heart. This was just a cruel murder. And I mean, he was given 16 years to life and he's only done 10, which is nothing. And he did so much pain to all his family, to my husband, which is his brother, his sister that just spoke, his parents. They hadn't seen him in years. And when they finally did, it was behind a casket. And he did not deserve to die. And Oscar, this is not a good person. You may be good in jail. You could do a lot of stuff, but you're not a good person. To kill a person that way and for nothing. And it's just a lot of pain. And reliving all this again is painful for everybody. His parents actually don't know that this is going on because we don't want to put more pain on them. So we're hoping and we're begging that his parole is denied today. So his parents, I don't know, it's just a relief knowing that he's behind bars. He does not deserve to be out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we could say, but I mean, we just beg that he is denied his parole today. Because 10 years of being behind jails is nothing. And he took a 25-year-old's life, 25, which Oscar was 45 at the time. I mean, no, but we beg that his parole is denied today. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to speak in opposition of Oscar Valles and are on video, raise your hand using the Microsoft Teams button. I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. Chong Ha Lee, please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes when you begin speaking.
Good afternoon. My name is Chung Wah Lee. I am a Deputy District Attorney with the Ventura County District Attorney's Office. On December 27, 2013, in response to a romantic rejection, the inmate told the victim, quote, "If I can't talk to her, you can't talk to her either," end quote. The inmate stabbed the victim outside on a patio and after a break, followed the victim rushing inside and brutally stabbed him again multiple times while the victim was on the ground. This was a callous, violent crime where the blade of the knife was lodged in the victim's shoulder. The inmate does not have the requisite insight and coping skills to refrain from antisocial conduct, especially given his rule violation report from 2019. He engaged in jealous, possessive, angry conduct that paralleled the life offense. He denied that anger at the time of the violation hearing. The conduct was not an isolated incident, but it involved multiple instances over the course of 1 month. He engaged in this conduct while in a highly controlled environment with limited contact with women. In addition, he admitted that he circumvented restitution until 2021 and stopped because he had heard that others had been denied parole for that kind of conduct. He is ill prepared for the significant stressors upon release, especially as he claimed that he will address his ex-wife to try to gain custody of his minor child. The inmate remains an unreasonable risk of danger to public safety. Thank you.
Moderator, are you still with us?
Is there anybody else who'd like to comment on the Vallier case? If so, please press *6 on your telephone or raise your hand in Microsoft Teams. Chairperson, we have no other speakers on this case.
All right, thank you. We'll now take comments from anyone who has not yet spoken and wants to make a comment on a case on today's agenda.
If you are online and have not been able to speak on a case today but would like to, please raise your hand in Microsoft Teams or press *6 to unmute yourself. Chairperson, we have no further speakers for today.
Right, does any board member wish to request an agenda item for a future meeting? Right. We will now hear comments from the public regarding general matters related to the board. We are not taking comments on cases right now. Comments concerning future parole hearings are not permitted during this meeting. Please send those comments to the board for inclusion in the materials for that hearing. Comments are limited to 2 minutes and there's no opportunity for rebuttal. Please do wait to speak until we call your name or identify you by your login information. All right, is there anyone seeking to make a general comment related to the board?
I have a speaker card for Vanessa Nelson Sloan, who is in person with us.
Thank you. Recently, I found myself participating in a hearing in an unusual role for me, that of a victim support person. This is a friend of 30 years whose husband was murdered some 20 years ago. She reached out to me for help after she received notification of the hearing, and I suggested she call the district attorney's office for both support and help, and with specific questions. None of those questions were answered, and the only help that was offered to her was tuning in to the hearing. So she asked that I come along to the hearing to explain to her what was going on. Victims need compassion, understanding, and empathy, but they also need information. I suggested she read the parole handbook, which was helpful, but she needed more than that. So there I was to provide what I could for her. Victims don't get enough information, and we know this from the comments that we hear both at the hearings and at the en banc considerations. It's apparent that they don't get what they need. but they need it desperately. So I'm asking, I know that the board can't take this on as something the board can do. So I'm using this platform to ask the district attorneys to please step up and make this process better. Give the folks, the victims, the next of kin, some information, some real information on how this process works and why it works and the timing situations, why people come to hearing when they do, so that they know that due process is in fact going on. They need it, they deserve it. And if DAs, if you can't provide that help, then please find someone who will. And I'm going to put myself out there and say I would be happy to do this. I'm the survivor of a violent crime myself. I understand this. I get it. I have empathy for the victims and what they're going through. And I also understand the process. And there are other people out there like me. Please allow us to help the victims to get past this. No one ever gets over it, but they can get past this and have a better life, particularly if they understand the hearing process and what's going on. Their voice needs to be heard, and they need to understand what they're speaking to. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to make a general comment regarding the board? If you are in Microsoft Teams, please press the microphone or raise your hand button. If you're on the telephone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Chairperson, I see no additional speakers.
All right, on behalf of my colleagues, I wish to thank everyone for participating today. We will recess to the open session of the October Executive Board meeting at this time. We will reconvene in open session tomorrow at 9 a.m. This meeting is now in recess.